Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Data here with breaking news in the NHL. As Tanner Pearson has been traded from the Vancouver Canucks, full salary, no retention, 1 year left at over $3 million. We'll get to it in just a moment. To the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Casey DeSmith. I believe there is a pick attached to the trade as well, as we're just getting the first details of it coming out. But Casey DeSmith, who was acquired by the Canadiens from the Penguins in the deal, as the third team in the Erik Karlsson deal, it will be a 2025 third going to the Montreal Canadiens to take on Tanner Pearson for 1 more year in exchange for Casey DeSmith. So, in other words, we're adding on to the trade that the Canadiens did. They were able to dump Hoffman. They traded Pitlick. They took back a second from the Penguins. They took back a third now from the Canucks, and they get 1 year of Tanner Pearson. So Tanner Pearson and Casey DeSmith, both valuable players. Let's break it all down here. Not too much to say about this deal. I think that this is a good win-win for both teams in both situations. If we go and look at it right here, Casey DeSmith, I think that both he and Tanner Pearson have gotten a bad rap in recent years. I think Casey DeSmith at one point was one of the better, if not, I would say one of the best. By best, I mean probably like top 8 backups in the NHL. I think he had a lot of good value for those good, like late 2010 Penguins teams. Now, that being said, Casey DeSmith over the last few seasons has been in the 75th percentile of projected wins above replacement. He is in that 83rd percentile at even strength. Very, very good at low danger, as you would hope that he would be. Medium danger, well above average. High danger, above average. Rebound control has been atrocious, but in general, he is a player that is above the league average in terms of value in wins above replacement per 60 in that percentile ranking. So Casey DeSmith going to the Vancouver Canucks. They're going to be happy to have him on board, as you would assume, backup to Thatcher Demko. We'll get back to the Canucks situation in just a moment. Full trade here from Saravalli, no salary retained. Pearson and a 2025 third going to the Canadiens for Casey DeSmith. Now, if we go over here and look at Tanner Pearson's numbers, let me just zoom in a little bit there. Tanner Pearson, over the last couple years, same thing for him. I think he's gotten a bit of a bad rap in the league. I think his contract has kind of pulled him down. I think the worst thing for Tanner Pearson has been that he was signed by the Canucks over Tyler Toffoli. And when you look at Pearson versus Toffoli, obviously Toffoli takes the cake. So having the Canucks having signed Pearson instead of Toffoli at the time that they did has kind of made Canucks fans look at the Pearson contract with some sourness associated to it. But Tanner Pearson, when you just look at the numbers, he is in that 70th percentile of offense, even strength offense over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data. Even strength defense, he's close to league average. He's very average in most of these things, slightly above or below average in just about every regard. His finishing is quite low. His teammates are he's playing with high levels of teammates, but not against the highest levels of competition. As we can see here, the wins above replacement percentile rank has increased quite a bit over the last couple seasons in both his offense and his defense. So things have changed for Tanner Pearson in his world, from 18 points in 51 games to scoring 34 last year over 68 games. Sorry, not last year, 2021-22. Now in 2022-23, he only played 14 games. He only scored 1 goal. 5 points. The Canucks needed to free up some money here. Before this trade happened, before I refresh the page and things will be able to be updated, the Canucks were over the salary cap by $4.2 million. If you add in the LTR candidates, they're still over the cap by about $1.7 million. They still needed to free up money here. So by moving out Pearson and taking in DeSmith, I believe they're going to be cap compliant. They also get to free up some space in their forward core. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was not allowing Niels Hoglander or Podkolzin to be in the top 6, top 9. So by moving out Pearson, you allow one of those guys, one of those good younger players like Hoglander or like Podkolzin to enter that top 9 at least. So I think, especially on the trajectory that the Canucks are on, they definitely had to move him out. So that's a win, and they do get a better backup goalie than Spencer Martin, unfortunately. No offense to him. In Casey DeSmith, one of the better backups over the last few years, I would say. So Thatcher Demko now has a more experienced backup, and they get to clear up money, and they get to have their young players come into their top 9. This is a great win for the Canucks, absolutely. All it cost them was a third-round pick. So here we have DeSmith there at 1.8, and now you have more space with your forwards, and now you have, drumroll please, $503,000 in cap space with your players on LTIR. But it does cost them that 2025 third, though. Now, the Canadiens, although there's no losing in this deal, the Canadiens at this point, they were going to be coming into the season with $5.7 million in cap space. You can then weaponize that, and they did so now. Now 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2/3 in 2025. But they also get to move out Casey DeSmith, who was kind of just sitting in their team, wasn't really going to be doing anything. Now you can lock in Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault as the actual tandem in Montreal. If we go ahead and refresh now with Pearson in the lineup, cap space comes down absolutely. And now you have Tanner Pearson in your lineup for 1 season, a good player who has had some bad luck and will be able to maybe spread his wings and fly a little bit more with less pressure. I know the Canucks aren't exactly a contending team, but there's definitely less pressure, I would say, in Montreal than in Vancouver heading into 2023-24. It does jam things up a little bit more for the forwards here in Montreal. Pearson would definitely in bottom 6, but I'm not sure if there's room in that top 9 for Tanner Pearson. So I would think that his ice time will be limited. His 13.29 from last year may come down even more. This is the lineup right here, even without Armia in the lineup, and he's someone that the Canadiens often like having in there, especially when they're paying him $3.4 million. So the Canadiens, yes, they have a lot of room. They're fine. They're not going to be dealing with any issues in that regard. What I want to just bring you to here is the hockey reference. Here it is. So Tanner Pearson, when you see, yes, he's been struggling in terms of his offense and all that we've been talking about. Injury trouble was big, but he was on the downtrend in Vancouver, absolutely. He wasn't going to be able to do much more over there. His ice time going from 17 to 16 to 13 and a half. And again, Hoglander, Podkolzin needing to come into the lineup. There was no room for Pearson to really do anything. So although Pearson's not going to be a big piece on the Canadiens, and although the third-round pick is not anything huge, I think this is the definition of a win-win trade right here. Who won more? I don't think neither team beat the other, but it is, I believe, in my opinion, a fact that the Canucks gain more from this trade. They dump someone who was putting them over the salary cap and who was holding back players from entering their top 9, and they get a better backup goalie, and all it costs them is essentially a third-round pick. The Canadiens get out of their goaltending jam. They get value for Casey DeSmith. That adds value to them being involved in the Erik Karlsson trade, and they throw a third-round pick into it, and they have an extra bottom 6 forward who's going to help with the especially young core in Montreal, someone who's 31, someone who's able to do it, and there you have it. So I don't think there's too much more to say about that trade. I really want to hop in as I was sitting on my computer when it happened, especially as a Canadiens fan. I wanted to hop in and give my thoughts on it. I think it is a great definition of a win-win. 2 teams helping each other out of a jam and giving each other what they kind of need. I guess you could say what they kind of need at this moment. If we pull back up the Twitter world here to just see what everyone's saying about it, Puckpedia saying that after the Canucks have cleared up $1.45 million with Pearson for DeSmith, the Canucks are $2.21 million projected over the cap. That is before, as I mentioned, their $2.5 million LTIR, which would be Tucker Poolman, and they are therefore going to be cap compliant. The Canadiens, meanwhile, add $1.45 million to their cap. They will now be over by 2.74. Throw in the $10.5 million of Price's LTIR, and they will need to send down 3 more players totaling $2.74 million. So I don't think that's really going to be an issue for the Canadiens. They have a lot of players up right now. They're gonna. I could see a guy like Armia getting moved out or put down. If he's in the lineup, they want to play him. If he's not, if they're going to move on from him, then that would be $3.4 million right there. If I come out of the depth chart and just go look at the Canadiens themselves, I'm not sure who the players to get sent down would be, because the Canadiens already have 12 forwards, 9 defense. I'm not sure what Cap Friendly is alluding to here, because it already seems like everyone is pretty much where they have to be right now. Because Caulfield, I suppose, on injured reserve, and Monahan, Slavkovsky. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I'd probably think like Kovacevic and maybe like Elinin goes back to Laval or something. I don't think it's going to be a big issue. The Canadiens will have more than enough space with Price going on LTIR. So that will not be a problem for them. They get a third-round pick for helping out the Penguins trade, and they move on in their lives. I don't think there's anything else here. No more details of the trade. We didn't see any conditions on that trade either. No, that seems about it. The Habs have plenty of cap room. They won't need to place a Carey Price on offseason LTIR to make it work. Wonderful. So it works out for everybody. And then Spencer Martin likely down to the minors. So there we go. I think that works out for everybody. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are my thoughts on this deal. I think it is a great win-win. I don't think either team beats the other, but I do think that the Canucks get more out of this trade in terms of helping their organization along. And the Canadiens, hey, they get a third and Tanner Pearson for a season for helping out the Penguins trade. So in the end now, they get Nathan Gaucher. They get a third from the Canucks. They get a second from the Penguins. What else did they get in that deal? Was that it for the Canadiens, I believe? And then they get to dump Mike Hoffman as well. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my thoughts on the deal. Let me know what you thought about them down here. Thank you to all of you joining in for this impromptu live stream. Dom, glad you clicked that bell. Beautiful to have you in here. Who won the trade? I think, like I said, no one beats the other, but I do think that the Canucks get more out of it. And I look forward to our next one, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news and analysis here on the channel, as well as NHL 24 content coming soon, as well as our NHL 23 series that's going on right now. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and check out the rest of the channel because it'll be a great place for you there. Breaking news also happens on the Discord server, link in the description. So join us and subscribe there for more. Let me know your thoughts down here in the comments or over on the server. I think it's pretty cut and dry win-win. We'll see if DeSmith stays long-term with Thatcher Demko. Could that be something for the Canucks to say if Demko's struggling now DeSmith kind of takes over? Because he's more than just a one, more than just a two. He's really a 1B. Pittsburgh. That could definitely about that one, ladies and gentlemen. So have yourselves a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you for joining me on this Tuesday afternoon. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon.